What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through today's 5-game slate in the association. Nice little reprieve early in the week. Slates ahead. So, Mike, how are you feeling on this fine Tuesday?
Yeah, light slate, got through the minutes. Feel ready to talk about the injuries. A lot going on here. Got some possible lineup changes. Certainly John Morant, the injury. Man, bloodbath for point guards right now. Sounds like Halliburton avoided a big injury, but we got Cade Cunningham on the slate today. So, yeah, got lots to talk about.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with Minnesota and Orlando. On the Minnesota side of things, nothing injury report wise to be too concerned about here. They're just listing some G Leaguers out. Any rotation notes for you on the Timberwolves?
Just the Kyle Anderson minutes have been a little shaky. They've been kind of running McLaughlin in there, and they pulled him out a little short the last time there. Rudy Gobert's minutes been really solid. Jaden McDaniels, when he avoids foul trouble, is playing a ton. And then Anthony Edwards in close games has like 40 in his range. And then there was also a comment from Chris Finch. They're playing probably some of their worst ball lately. And he was like, you see Mike Conley's 32. That's a little high for him. So it's something that, I'd keep in mind. It's tough because the upside's not that great, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Conley maybe start to hit 30 until they kind of right the ship a little bit after some losses the last week here.
Orlando side, much fuller injury report situation tonight. So they are without Gary Harris, Wendell Carter Jr., Kevon Harris, Jet Howard, Joe Ingles, Jonathan Isaac, Admiral Schofield, and Franz Wagner. So that's like 8 names listed out. Who's left, and what do you expect from the Magic tonight?
Yeah, that is bad, man. We saw the big star last game, besides Paolo, who does this all the time now, was Caleb Houston. Goes off for 25 points, hit 7 threes, and after the game, Jamal Mosley called him, quote, a machine. He's been putting extra work in the practice, so it sounds like he's kind of locked in. 36 minutes last game. We've got him, I think, at around 30. So expecting some strong minutes out of him. Chuma Okeke also looks to be pretty secure with his minutes. Definitely expecting Markelle Fultz to have a pretty strong cap on him. Given how this thing has taken so long, Q tag, then followed by multiple out tags, has been trouble for a guy who's had obviously really bad injury history in his career. So I would expect a very, very long cap on him. So we have him at 16 minutes. Probably he might get that 16 to 20 range here. We'll see, and we'll adjust, but we'd rather be on the low end than the high end there. But yeah, and then Anthony Black's minutes are pretty cut down. They just really like Caleb Houston. It's because Paolo has really turned into a ball handler now, with just massive touch time. He's been handling doubles really well. The assists weren't really there last game, but he's been making some really good passes to get balls to the second side. So yeah, Paolo's playing some of the best ball of his career. But so not even some of the best ball. It's like clearly the best ball of his career.
Let's move to Sacramento and Detroit. On the Sacramento side, Trey Lyles popped up on the injury report, questionable with a right ankle sprain. That's the most notable thing here, just G Leaguers otherwise on the injury report. So any notes you have on the Kings?
Yeah, the trade thing's pretty straightforward. We'll see how small they can go. Certainly adds more minute ceiling to Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and maybe they bring in Sasha Vezenkov there. I think they would. Great matchup against the Pistons, obviously. And the other note here is De'Aaron Fox certainly got Herb Jones in the last game, and there was comments from one of the beats saying that they saw Fox kind of not looking healthy-ish. They kind of described it like weirdly, but Mike Brown kind of shot it down. So just keep an eye on that. Fox is kind of in the worst slump of the season after just kind of flame throwing for the first part of the season. So yeah, keep an eye on him. Obviously, the matchup is the nuttiest of nutty against the Pistons defense that has the worst on-ball defense in the NBA, in my opinion. So certainly a get-right spot for De'Aaron Fox. And then, this team got wrecked. The Pelicans completely torched them. Mike Brown apologized to all the King fans for paying money for these seats and all that good stuff. But so I think there could be. We saw this happen before, and this is kind of when like the Davion Keon thing kind of like flipped. Like we're going back, I don't know. I think it was against the Hawks like a month and a half ago. And they kind of just flipped things. So, yeah, the back end of the rotation is kind of on notice. We did get Kayvon Herter become Kayvon again, played pretty well. We'll see if those minutes could kind of sustain for him. But, yeah, a little bit unclear. But if Lyles doesn't play, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and even Malik Monk to a lesser degree kind of all benefit.
Yeah, chat notes before we hopped on that Underdog listed Trey Lyles is
Okay.
available tonight, so looks like he's going to be good to go. Imagine his role remains largely the same here as one of the few bench guys that they trust. Detroit side of things, Cade Cunningham out, Isaiah Stewart out, some of the G Leaguers out here. What does life without Cade look like for the Pistons? We saw all too much of it last season.
Yeah, it's ugly. Definitely expecting Killian Hayes to get the start, but I think a guy who really benefits here, especially in this matchup with the way the Kings play fast, is Jaden Ivey. The minutes just haven't really been consistent for him, but I think he's got to really get going. And then another kind of low key player who doesn't really benefit minutes wise, but I think could be really involved more in the offense is Jalen Duren. We saw him, get more involved with screening actions and getting the ball more. There's commentary from Monty Williams. They want to use him as a post player, which we haven't really seen. He's been a lot of like rim run kind of stuff, offensive rebounding and all that. But in summer league, he had a lot of high post passing, and I thought his passing aspect was pretty polished for a guy who didn't look like he had that into his game. We haven't really seen him utilize it because this hasn't been called for. So I think Jalen Duren is like low key going to benefit. We love this matchup as well. So really excited about him. After the game, Monty also said he's been playing Bogdanovich too much. That was interesting. I'm curious to see if
Boyan.
he comes down. Boy, did I say Bogdan? Sorry,
Yeah.
Boyan. Excuse me. I do that all the time. So yeah, so I would keep an eye on Boyan's minutes there. Yeah, but he obviously has to play a lot right now that they don't have Cade, so it's a little bit of a push and pull there. I think wrong again. Asar Thompson's minutes could be cut down. Or excuse me, come up. Alec Burks' minutes could also come up here, and then Marcus Sasser should be in the rotation. So that mostly covers it. And yeah, this offense is going to be real bad. Cade's been coming around, replacing him with Killian Hayes is a tough scene. So yeah, could be ugly, but could be a lot of upside from some players if they could kind of get it going against a vulnerable Kings defense.
Yeah, Cade's been playing a lot generally. You can see here, this game was a mix of non-competitive and also Cade missing time, but you can see that the choice on how to fill minutes is still not super clear because the guards, outside of perhaps getting a more extended look at Ivy kind of taking the reins, the rest of the guards have not really separated from themselves during the course of the year. Killian Hayes, Alec Burks, Marcus Sasser are the three names that I'm referring to here. So there's still a chance that from game to game, there's minutes variance associated with each of those three players. And I'm interested to see how it shakes out. What you'd really like to see is if you were able to play this kind of more confidently going forward is honestly if Sasser was not in the rotation or something like that, that would be a little bit cleaner in terms of the number of guards and the number of ball handling bodies. But Cade's got a huge role to fill. I think the guy who's most likely to fill that role is Jaden Ivey. The secondary guards certainly have the opportunity to play a lot more and thus out earn where they've been priced at in DFS and in season long of late. But I don't think they're guaranteed that opportunity. I think they're going to have to play well to continue to earn it. And we've seen shuffling all year long between Killian Hayes and Alec Burks and Marcus Sasser. Definitely think Hayes gets the first crack as he's had the most experience there in the past. Okay. Portland and New York. On the Portland side of things, DeAndre Ayton doubtful. Interesting tag, given that I thought they just said he was going to be out weeks. I don't know if this is like the Charlotte nod to the Charlotte Hornets. Like, oh yeah, doubtful means still out for multiple weeks. Moses Brown out, left wrist fracture. Jabari Walker questionable, left knee tendonitis. Matisse Thybulle questionable, right foot strain. So what are your notes here on Portland tonight?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. And actually, shout out to John. He's on starters jersey watch for me while I'm on the show, and we may have some Kayvon actually here. So
Okay.
in a get right spot. So yeah, we've always kind of waited for Chris Duarte to go away. So I kind of think he's got a shot to start. So it's always about starters jerseys in these parts. So yeah, but yeah, let's go back as you mentioned to the Blazers. This is just an interesting situation to follow. So last time I was on the show, I talked about how Scoot was cutting into Anthony Simons' role, and that didn't happen in the last game. Simons took it all back. He had huge touch time, scored a ton, scoring it well, 11 assists. The role was 100% back. So I think that may have been a one-time, maybe 1.5 time thing. So Anthony Simons, who I think I think he's going to get OG Anunoby on him. Not confident. Could certainly be Jeremy Grant, but I think they're pretty comfortable using Randall in that spot. And then, yeah, so the other big story there, besides what I just mentioned, is Malcolm Brogdon. His minutes are cut because they want to play Shaedon Sharp. First game without Shaedon Sharp on a minutes limit. This game did go to overtime, but 40 minutes. So he was going, mid 30s in his first game without it. We saw him hitting 40s on the regular before he got hurt. Obviously, that was in the starting lineup without Anthony Simons. So they are, whatever rotation plan they have, be damned. Like, they're going to want to play Anthony Simons, Scoot low 30s, and then Shaedon all they can off the bench. I wouldn't be shocked if he started. That said, they really like Tumani in the first unit to pressure the ball. He'd be guarding Jalen Brunson to start the game. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then, Duop Reese minutes have been really, really secure there. So he's been playing great. Baji's just kind of gone away. But, yeah, this is one of the tightest rotations. Again, that matchup's not really good. The Knicks play at the slowest pace offensively. But, I think basically the bottom line here is Scoot, Ant, and Sharp, I think, could all kind of coexist together. And then really everyone else in the backcourt could suffer. And then Jeremy Grant is going to play a ton. And then Duop Reith also looks to have the inside track. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful, so he's kind of trending in the right direction.
Yeah, this obviously was super tight the other night. The questionable tags on Tybal and Jabari Walker, who both were not available for this game, certainly could change things in terms of how loose they are. Baji's been terrible, so I don't think he's an NBA level player at this point. We'll see if Walker is available. That could introduce some more competition to Reith, certainly. If Tybal's available, that would introduce some more competition to Kamara. Is the way that I'd be thinking of it. And then, perhaps Chris Murray and Baji go away in those instances. But it's going to be fairly tight on the main guys that they have confidence developing right now, which is Tamani, Scoot, Simons, Sharp, and then Grant. They seem committed to from a contractual standpoint as well. The center spot, just if they're without everybody, which is basically if they're down to Reith and Baji, then Reith is significantly ahead of Baji, and it's just a matter of how long he can stay out on the floor from a fouls perspective at this point.
Yep.
Okay. Knicks side of things, only thing on the injury report is Mitchell Robinson, who is out for the season. Any notes on the Knicks?
No, not really. Just OG's been playing a ton. They're playing awesome basketball. So yeah, that's really nothing to say. Hartenstein continues to get all the minutes. Maybe one day I'll get to 44. Hope Gary's feeling better. But, pretty straightforward here. Really tight rotation, really high-end minutes. They don't care. Tibbs, we know Tibbs. Tibbs is going to Tibbs. Tibbs will play his guys 38 if he wants. He's said multiple times these guys are pretty comfortable with where they're at. And, yeah, the matchup's fantastic, right? The Blazers defense, after the real hot start that was kind of generating some turnovers and keeping three-point shooting down, has kind of subsided, so could see a pretty big scoring output in a great game environment if the Blazers can hang around. Terrible rim defense, so a lot of front court players like Julius Randle, Hartenstein could really benefit in the spot.
Yeah, and as you noted, they're comfortable playing their guys a ton, and I mean this game against Washington, I think it was back to back if I remember too. Maybe
I
not,
think so.
But they were up a ton in the fourth quarter. You can see they ended up winning by 16, and the fourth quarter scoring was even. So they were up 16 plus throughout the fourth quarter. And Hartenstein still got to 39. It was not like a Precious Achiuwa blowout spot, get a better look at him or anything. So Tibbs is just going to keep playing the guys relentless. They are not. They've had 2 days off, and they don't play again tomorrow. So they have another day off. So clean spot for New York to attack tonight. Let's move to Memphis and
confirmed
Dallas.
was a back-to-back. They had light minutes when they blew out the Sixers, but they don't care.
Yeah, Dallas and Memphis. On the Memphis side of things, no Ja Morant, no Brandon Clark, no Steven Adams, no Jacob Gilyard, no Derrick Rose. Doubtful tag for Santi Aldama. Questionable tag for Jaren Jackson Jr. It is real ugly for Dallas, for Memphis tonight. So what are your thoughts here, especially in a front court this is coming into the season, no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, potentially no Santi Aldama, and no Jaren Jackson Jr. That is their top 4 guys that they intended to have as their front court this season. So who's left?
Yeah, so let's start with Ja Morant, right? And what happens here. I should note, Taylor Jenkins, poor guy. He says that things are starting to turn around for them after they get this win. which is interesting because John Morant was in a sling. So it was quite clear he was not just day to day, and bad news could be coming. Certainly got the worst news in relation to this season. So let's start with what we know with the backcourt. We know Marcus Smart is going to start at point. We know Desmond Bane's going to be at the 2, and pretty confident Luke Kennard will continue to maintain the starting lineup. Next question would be who starts. And if you're looking at the box score here, you'll see 3 minutes from Xavier Tillman. They ran him out there and they pulled him out right away. And they put in, he's not my guy officially, but anyone who sees me in our Slack talking about Vince Williams minutes, you'd probably think he is my guy. Because I'm always asking to push him up, and shout to me, I'm usually right. But yeah, so he played a ton. Obviously, Santi Aldama being out, that's a little bit tricky in the spot. Maybe they have to allocate their front court minutes to start big, just because you don't really want to pull too much. Because if you do start Vince, you're really kind of cutting off either Bismack or almost certainly it would be Tillman. I think Tillman's on the outside looking in. So, and then the next question you have is who's kind of next? So you got the starting 5 that I mentioned. Which I think is Vince Williams, and I think Biz is in there, and then like who's next here, right? I think Zaire. Excuse me, man, I can't talk today. Go ahead.
Walk me through when you say Vince is the starters are Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr. assuming he's available, and then you're saying Luke Kennard and Vince Williams would be the starters in that scenario. Okay.
Yeah, there was a comment from Jenkins. He said they made a quick decision to pull Tillman out and to play Vince Williams more, which kind of jives. We've been seeing Vince go. He's just, the Grim Reaper meme where they're, slashing doors down. He's just taking down every, rotation piece there. So he's like the guy now, I would say, of the secondary players, So, yeah, I expect that to be the starting lineup. And Biombo's in there for sure. And he could start again, because if they don't have Santi, you're really, you're thinning yourself out by starting that way, I would say. That's how they could still do it. They could play Roddy instead of, Tillman. There's still ways around it. So after that, I think, like I said, Zaire's probably next who I feel safe about. And then I think Roddy, and then I think Conchar, and then, then you get into the Tillman season. So that's assuming no Santi, of course. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. And then if Jaren doesn't play, then they have to play big, right? You're going to probably have to play Tillman, Biz, cover your 48 that way, and then you're still bringing in Roddy. They would have to play Conchar and those guys. But really the bottom line is that I think Zaire Williams is pretty secure for minutes in the second unit. And then obviously we could see a ton of minutes out of Marcus Smart, Bane, Kennard's minutes are a little bit safer. And then obviously Vince could play a ton.
Yeah, assuming they can avoid blowout. On the Dallas side of things, Luka Doncic upgraded to probable today. Right ankle swelling is the tag there. They're without Dante Exum, Derek Lively, and Maxi Kleber. Grant Williams also listed probable. What are your expectations for how Dallas looks tonight?
Yeah, it should be pretty much the same story here with Dwight Powell in the first unit. Derek Jones Jr. played freaking awesome in the last game, picked up a lot of ant assignment, and should shout out Luka. He had a really good offensive game, but he guarded Cat for a big chunk of this game over the weekend. One of their best wins of the season, I would say. So yeah, same starting lineup, and then we're generally the same. We've seen Seth Curry kind of be the last man in. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes are really secure. He is the sixth man of the year favorite, which I have not put any money on him, so rooting against him here. And then Grant kind of getting the non-pals. We'll see if they run a little bit of overlap, depending on how Memphis kind of plays it here. But yeah, Josh Green also kind of locked in. So yeah, feel pretty good. They're going to mostly run the situation back while they wait for Derek Lively's aggravated ankle injury to recover.
All right, Toronto and the Lakers, last game of the slate to discuss tonight. On the Toronto side, without Jakob Poeltl, Otto Porter Jr. doubtful, so pretty thin in the front court. What are your expectations on how they replace Poeltl's minutes tonight against the Lakers team that you need size? Yeah. You can't. It's like pretty hard to go smaller against this Lakers team with the way Anthony Davis is playing on the inside. So what are your thoughts on how the Raptors cope tonight?
Yeah, matchup, right? I think that if they were playing someone else, like they play the Clippers tomorrow. So I think they may be like more inclined to play smaller there. But against AD and LeBron, I mean, you kind of got to play big, right? So I think Chris Boucher gets the start. You're basically slotting him into Poeltl's minutes. I still expect him to play small. And I expect him to play like a lot of IQ, a lot. We saw Barrett play freaking great against the Warriors. Siakam will play a bunch. Scotty Barnes has been magnificent on defense. He got the Steph assignment and turned in one of Steph's worst games last year. So those are your starters. Certainly Schroeder, Gary Trent locked into really strong minutes for the 6th and 7th man. And then Jonte Porter's probably next in. We keep and I wouldn't be like totally shocked to see Jonte Porter start, which would be kind of hilarious. But Boucher should be the guy who kind of leads the charge. Yeah, those guys are kind of secure. Then we'll see if they go to Jay McDaniels and those types.
I think
the bottom line, just to really close, is like we could see like really big minutes out of Barrett, IQ, Scotty, Pascal, and even Schroeder.
I think you will see that. I think you could also see really spread minutes at the center position, and wouldn't be surprised to see Thaddeus Young even potentially like go from out of the rotation to even starting, just like veteran presence, like can move the ball a little bit and just buy you some time against Anthony Davis. Asking Jonte Porter to go from, basically not on the team and in the rotation in the G League to starting against Anthony Davis seems like a big ask. And then Boucher, like, is not a first unit defender. So I could see Thad actually drawing the start here, and just trying to buy them like the Keith Bogans, 6-8 minutes in each half, like just try to buy time. Anthony Davis is usually playing the full first, if I am remembering the rotation correctly. So you might see something where like, you're not going to give someone a full 12-minute stint against Anthony Davis. Like, I think that's asking too much of these guys individually, but you might try to chop it up. And then Boucher like makes a lot more sense against second unit types just generally. So this game I know is much later than the other games. I actually haven't checked out the slates to make sure that it's a small slate size, so I'm assuming it's included. But I think sites are going to be very confident in the way that they project this spot, and I am hesitant to be very confident because the matchup is so difficult. I agree with you that tomorrow against Zubats, I would feel a little bit more comfortable saying I think they could start either small or they don't need Thad Young. Like they can start either small or they could start Boucher or Jonte and then rotate through them. In this matchup against Anthony Davis, I think they might need to use all three of these guys to just buy their times against Anthony Davis because the guy is playing like 38 minutes a night right now. And I think each of these guys, I think like it could be like 18, 16, and 4 or like, and then maybe they can go small in the other minutes. But yeah, I think you're going to see really big minutes from the main guys. And then the center spot, I think is vulnerable. I think it's very highly volatile. And then there's also the foul risk on anyone trying to guard Anthony Davis as well. So like, just be careful out there is the way that I'd say it. There's big upside if you get it right, but there's also going to be pretty big downside if the ownership really condenses on these guys, which we'll talk about in the DFS show.
Yeah, okay. Well said. I'll just add one more thing that whenever Chris Boucher got doghoused last year, certainly a different coach, it was post defense. So and we've seen AD get funneled post touches, man. He is getting so many post touches. Where Thad's been a somewhat trusted post defender in his career, certainly in his heyday. So I kind of dig the Thad thought. I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of out there.
A lot of times in the last few years, Boucher is honestly more used even as a 4, like defensively, than as a 5, because he's fine as a help side defender in terms of rim protection and offering some length and shot contest and stuff like that. But he's like a traffic cone in terms of his lateral agility, and he's not big. And that combination is awful in pick and roll, just awful. So I'm like, I would be, man, and Boucher's a good fantasy point per minute producer, but I'm telling you right now, if he is like massive chalk tonight, be careful out there. I'm sure he's cheap, but the downside is pretty volatile too. Okay, Lakers side of things. Anthony Davis listed probable, Rui Hachimura doubtful, LeBron James questionable, Gabe Vincent out. We've hit for the cycle on tags with 4 different players here. What are your thoughts on availability tonight for the Lakers?
Yeah, this is pretty much good to go. A lot of fake questionable, a lot of fake tags here. It should be pretty much good to go.
So no Rui.
The question is who starts, right?
LeBron and AD in is your expectation?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for this Reddish thing to end. Is that what's like? What I don't know. I just don't get it. Like they got the win, but it's not because of Reddish. That's kind of what I wanted to start. What do you think about?
Who's coming? Who's coming for Cam Reddish?
Who?
It's Christian Wood and Max Christie.
Yeah.
Those are the guys coming for
Yep.
Cam Reddish. There's a chance that Cam Reddish is just like really, really like goes from starting to not in the rotation at some point.
Yeah.
We'll see how stubborn Darvin Ham is with stuff, but there's a chance that he is down real bad.
Yeah. I thought he was terrible. He's just got to go. So we'll see if I kind of think they like D'Lo off the bench. I think they're going to continue to start Reeves. So but yeah, I was good.
I think it makes all the sense in the world to have the foundation of like bench lineups be from an offensive perspective, D'Angelo Russell and Christian Wood pick and roll. Like, makes all the sense in the world to be that be your second unit offense. Obviously, you're going to stagger in LeBron into some of these units as well, so you can use him in that same spot. LeBron would pick and roll with D'Angelo Russell as the spot up shooter. Makes all the sense in the world, and that would mean Christie in the first unit, I think, and then Vanderbilt in the second unit for the defensive help. Because with what do you need when you don't have Christian Wood on the floor, or when you have Christian Wood on the floor, you need some defensive help. So pairing Vanderbilt and LeBron and Russell and Wood as a lineup combination makes a lot of sense to me, which would mean elevating Max Christie potentially into the starting lineup.
Yeah, and they like Vanderbilt too. That was part of the article that came out, The Athletic. But the Reeves is going to start the rest of the way, right? I mean, he's got those 6-man tickets, and Reeves are kind of dead.
I think so, but things are fluid here, man. Like this team is, it's a struggle, and the other thing that's fluid about it is the coach. If there's a coaching change, you could see lineup changes as well. So, if they start to play better, I think for sure. I think if you're fading Reeves in the 6th man of the year market, you are a Lakers fan the next 2 weeks. You want the Lakers 100%. To start playing good basketball, because that's the path to those tickets being dead.
Yep.
Okay. That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you enjoy the content that we're providing, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and get notifications by hitting that bell whenever we go live. We have a goal of getting to 5,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel during the course of the season. We'd love your help in trying to get there. Also, if you'd like to support some of our other free content, this latest episode is not currently on the YouTube channel of our podcast, but we broke down the Draymond Green podcast where he kind of broke his silence on what's been going on for him in this suspension period of time, and it was really vulnerable. It was really insightful. We dove in and shared some vulnerabilities for ourselves with mental health and personal growth, and what that podcast meant to us. So check that out on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Established Run NBA podcast, episode number 337. Mike and I recorded that yesterday and went up last night. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. We feel really good and proud about it. If you're interested in checking out our content behind the paywall, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our player props or DFS packages. You can find myself and Mike Gallagher behind the paywall breaking down this 5-game DFS slate tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, talking about the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course the flag plants. Fun flag plants last night. Gallagher hit Fred VanVleet in a big way. I talked about J-Dub, Jalen Williams, who we need to get J-Dub some Andre Bloch highlight videos, because the man was not out there hunting the triple-double in the way that I wanted him to hunt that triple-double. He was at 6 rebounds for all the fourth quarter, only needed 4 rebounds, only ended up getting 1 more, but still approached 50 fantasy points. So join us behind the paywall tonight, 5 o'clock Eastern. We got you squared away. As always, if you enjoy this free content that we're putting together, the best way to support the content that we're making is by smashing that like button. That feeds the algorithm, which helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information and analysis you need to make your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, your spread bets, and your prop bets. So smash that like button, help feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.